Welcome everyone to today's webinar on migrating from CAS Desktop to CAS 360. My name is Adriana and I'm here with Damien, who is our Client Success Manager. And today we're going to be going through the migration process from CAS Desktop to CAS 360. Now, before we kick off today's webinar, we do have Cody in the chat, so please feel free to pop any questions through the chat function today. But as you can see here, we do have an agenda, what we're going to be going through. So just to let everyone know that this session will be recorded and we will be distributing the recording after the webinar if you've missed anything. So don't worry, you will get a copy of today's sessions and also the Q&A. And today we're really going to be touching on what the migration process looks like from CAS Desktop to CAS 360. So we're going to be going through all the prerequisites, what you need to do from a firm perspective to get ready to migrate from CAS. And then we're going to go through the migration process. So what are we actually migrating? How can the client success team support you during the migration process? And then some post-migration steps and training. And we really want to make sure that all our clients that are migrating from CAS Desktop to CAS 360 are given all the support and resources that they need to make a successful transition across. So I'm going to hand over to Damien now, and he's going to be going through all the prerequisites for today.
Perfect. Thank you, Adriana. Hi, everyone. So going to break this up into a few sections in terms of what happens before the migration starts, what happens during, and also what to be mindful of post-migration as well. So there are a couple of things to be mindful of and to complete before to get migration ready. So the first thing is to review the companies in your CAS Desktop license. So any company that is flagged as a current client will be migrated to CAS 360, including any companies that are pending deregistration as they haven't been officially deregistered fully yet. The companies that aren't migrated are the ones that are non-current, so flagged as a non-current in the details section in CAS Desktop, or deregistered companies. The second part of the prerequisite as well is to complete what we call a validation or health check over the data in CAS Desktop. So for example, there might be an officer missing a date of birth or a joint member missing a representative. Those are a couple of things that will appear on a validation report. And the client success team, as Adriana mentioned as well, will go through this full process as well to assist with cleaning up your data and assisting with getting migration ready. Once the cleanup has happened with the data, companies have been reviewed, and we've run that validation check, we'll then book in a time to go through for the migration process. Now, this will be completed on BGL's end. You don't have to worry about learning the migration process. This will be done by BGL at no charge. And your client success specialist will go through and book in that time with you as well. Before we book in that time as well, and during that period there, any sort of annual reviews that have been received, it's usually best to process those annual reviews that have been received from ASIC. If they haven't been processed, they will still come across to CAS 360. And it can be processed in 360 as well. The other point as well to be mindful of is any sort of urgent lodgements with ASIC that do also need to be processed. So what will happen is once all the data cleanup has happened and the time has been booked in with the client success specialist, you will stop using CAS Desktop for a couple of days or so, depending on how many companies are being migrated across to CAS 360. So it is best to try and follow up with any sort of lodgements that do need to happen, so that during those couple of days that CAS Desktop doesn't need to be used with any forms being lodged to ASIC. So once we've booked in that time, it'll involve your IT team most likely as well, or someone that has access to the server where CAS the data is installed. What will happen is during that period, once we've extracted the data from your end, any changes that happen in CAS Desktop won't be reflected in CAS 360 if it's done in CAS Desktop. Okay, so that's why it's really important to make sure that once we've confirmed that date of the migration occurring, that we don't use CAS Desktop after that date and once the data has been extracted. In terms of the turnaround time for the migration, so if you've got a few hundred companies to somewhere between less than about 500 companies or so, it'll be usually done within 1 to 2 business days. So it is a fairly quick turnaround time. And your client success specialist will give you regular updates as well. So if there's any sort of issues that arise during that period, they will let you know. But most times it should be going through fairly smoothly, but you will be kept regularly updated on the progress of that as well. Once the migration has been completed, your client success specialist will let you know of this as well. And then there is an opportunity to review the companies that have been migrated across. If you're familiar with an RA61 or an RA62 report, that will allow you to compare the companies that are in CAS 360 with ASIC's records as well, just to make sure that all companies have come across correctly, there's no issues, and that everything has gone through smoothly. Couple of other things to also be mindful of, which can be, so with the template side as well. So this can be done post-migration. It does take a bit of time just to customize and just make sure that everything does look neat, which we'll go through as well as part of the onboarding process, which will look at adding in your firm logos, changing the wording of the cover letters, for example, document templates, all that sort of thing. We'll go through as part of that process. And the other one to be mindful of as well is the email addresses and mobile phone numbers as well. So there unfortunately isn't a field for these in CAS Desktop. So once the migration has happened, we'll be able to generate a contact database, which has your spreadsheet with all of the contacts in there. And that will give you the opportunity to bulk fill in the email addresses and mobile phone numbers, which will allow you to be able to send out documents to your clients in CAS 360 via email or even a text message reminder as well. I'll hand back over to Adriana. We'll go through a couple of other things and we'll...
Thanks, Damien. So as Damien mentioned, the migration process is really handled purely by the client success team here at BGL. So we really work to ensure that we're eliminating as minimal requirements from your team and your staff to assist us in the migration process. And like Damien mentioned previously, the great thing about BGL able to be doing the migrations for you is that once you log into CAS 360, all your company data is going to be there. So you are getting a historical database transfer by the client success team. And once that's done and we've got all the company data into CAS 360, we really are then at that point where we're here to explore the training and support that BGL can provide you. So like Damien was mentioning previously, we have our specialized team, the client success team, and you will get someone that works alongside yourself and your account manager to help you with that transition over to CAS 360. Now, your client success specialist is well equipped across CAS 360, and then that allows us to help provide the training that is required to get you started and also your team started with CAS 360. So this training is a personalized training that is done one-on-one with your firm. So it is different to the type of training that we hold at BGL on the product, and it really creates a safe environment for you to ask questions and your staff to ask questions as well. Like Damien mentioned, there is a lot of customization that can be explored and automation through CAS 360. So we allow these training sessions to really open up the floor to have open discussions with our clients to make sure that they are aware of what function they can utilize in the product and how we can help assist them setting them up as well. So these services might include the email system in CAS 360, like Damien mentioned, getting all the email addresses into CAS and helping you with that system. It can also include things as digital signing, which you can obviously include in your CAS 360 and integrate with your CAS 360 product as well. But it's really there, and that training is really there to provide your team the support and the requirements that you need to really get started. And we know that once you start using the product, it will open up a whole door and a whole box of questions as well. So that is something that we ensure that we're communicating and having multiple touch points with yourselves. So that will be also through the client success team and with your dedicated account manager as well. So if you do run into any issues during your onboarding process and during your start of and your transition over to CAS 360, there's obviously multiple touch points that you have throughout BGL that you can utilize. And this kind of goes into some of the additional resources that you will be exposed to by moving to one of the BGL cloud solutions. So you might be already using Simple Fund 360 or Simple Invest 360. So these might not be new to you, but we do know that there are some clients that are still in that process of making the transition to cloud. So there is some additional resources that we have. So we have the BGL Learning Channel. Now, this is great. This is a great starting point for anyone trying to learn any BGL products, especially CAS 360. And the BGL Learning Channel really incorporates online training in a digital format and in a self-paced format as well. So this is all included in your subscription, and it's something that we find clients really love to utilize when they're onboarding new staff, or there needs to be a little bit of a refresher in regards to a function within CAS 360. And all that training is inbuilt into the product. So you can access that through CAS 360, and then you can do the self-paced learning. So it's really a module-based training that is built up on videos and little short courses that yourself and your team can be exposed to either during the migration process, once it's completed, or even using it as a resource in the future for additional staff and training requirements as well. We obviously have the online learning, like I mentioned as well. This is our classroom style training, which is run by BGL, which you have a dedicated trainer to attend to and help with any queries. So this is another form very similar to the learning channel, but a bit more hands-on that you can explore if you're looking for that hands-on approach. And then we also have some webinars that that you're exposed to throughout your journey with CAS 360. So these webinars include our best practice webinars. So that allows us to talk about specific features in CAS 360, such as emails, annual reviews, constitutions, and incorporations that clients might not be using in the desktop product or might not have that exposure yet in CAS 360. So really helping create that best practice workflow in your CAS 360 product. And then we also have past recordings and releases. So one of the great things about being in the cloud and using CAS 360 is that it's going to allow you to regular updates of the product. One of the things that our CAS 360 team really strive is to ensure that we're passing feedback and improvements quite efficiently to our clients as well. So you'll definitely see a lot more updates compared to the desktop product, which means that we also have additional resources to help you stay up to date with those features. So we hold regular webinars to ensure that your staff and yourself can attend to find out what's happening, what's new, and what is a new feature or something that you've been waiting for that has been recently released into CAS. Like we also mentioned before, those past webinars, so they're available to you on our BGL YouTube channel, and we also send regular correspondence to our CAS 360 clients through CAS 360 itself or via our emails to ensure that you're up to date with everything that's going on in the product. So what are really the next steps? So we've given you a lot of information today, explained to you what the process of transitioning to CAS 360 looks like for our desktop clients. But what can you do now to kind of move forward with that decision-making process? And we would definitely recommend, if you haven't had a demo of CAS 360 or haven't had the opportunity to look at CAS 360, this is a great time to reach out to your account manager and to really explore what CAS 360 has to offer your firm. So we can organize, we are going to pop a little poll up now, and that will allow you to submit if you'd like your account manager to reach out to you, or they will also be following up afterwards after this webinar as well. So feel free to, pop in if you'd like to be contacted, and we will organize that for you as soon as possible for your account manager to reach out to you. We also have the migration process help article as well. So after this webinar, just to reiterate what I mentioned at the start, is that everyone will be receiving a copy of the slides and also the recording. So we will link all the resources that are available to you, and the migration help files really help drill down on any specific question that you might have on CAS 360. And then we also have, like we've been talking about, is the client success team and your client success specialist. So once you make the decision to move and you've discussed with your account manager your purchase, we can then go through the next steps with involving the client success team and involving that client success specialist. So they'll become your point of contact to organize your transition, to organize your data, and to organize your dedicated tailored training as well. So that brings us to the end of today's webinar. I'll invite Damien to come back in, and what we'll do is we'll obviously open up the floor to any questions that people might have. But it's nice, short, sharp, sweet webinar today on CAS 360 and how to transition across from desktop to cloud. So we'd like to thank everyone for attending today. And if you do have any particular questions that you'd like to go through, please pop them through the chat, and then we also will follow up with anyone that would like their account manager to get in contact with them today as well. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat function today. We will stick around for another 5 or so minutes, but on behalf of BGL and Damien and myself, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar, and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.